Bit by careful bit, packing up a home. It is going to be a long day for Kaushika Ananthanarayanan. He moved into this apartment in Gurgaon, a bustling suburb of New Delhi, with his wife right after their wedding. For 2 years, they made it home. But it's time to leave, he says. His employers are allowing their staff to work from home till next July. Paying a high rent to be near his office seems pointless now. But it has not been an easy decision. He is moving home to the southern city of Coimbatore to live with his mother for the first time in 18 years.
Independence was one of the factors that I also considered before relocating, right? So I think that not being compromised is something very, very key for both of us.
And it seems he is not alone. Parveen Kharam has been working as a mover for 5 years. Never before has he had so many storage jobs. In the last month, he has moved over 30 apartments like Ananthanarayanan's into storage units.
We've moved many apartments into storage. People have lost jobs, so they're moving home. Rents are high here. Storage costs far less.
For many, it has been a difficult but necessary move. Many young professionals from small towns rent apartments in cities like New Delhi to access more opportunities. But pay cuts and job losses caused by the pandemic are quickly making the cost of living in cities unaffordable. And these relocations can have rippling consequences. Deepika Vegat's flatmates moved out in March, before India's lockdown. It has been emotionally draining to be all alone in this empty apartment, she says.
We had a really great time living in this house. The housemates were perfect. The house was perfect. And suddenly this happened. And when my housemate was leaving, I didn't have any idea that I was kind of seeing her for the last time.
She cannot afford the rent alone. For months, Deepika has been looking for flatmates, posting housing ads on Facebook. But there are no takers. If she fails to find anyone this month too, she will have to give up the apartment. She is also considering heading home to Gondia, a small town in Maharashtra, but is unsure if she can also keep her job then. Many of those leaving hope to return as soon as the pandemic ends. That end, however, is proving impossible to predict.
Our correspondent Nimisha Jaiswal put together that report and she joins us now from Delhi. Good to see you there, Nimisha. We just saw in your report the coronavirus driving people out of big cities, and at the same time infection numbers in India have topped 3 million, up from 2 million just 2 weeks ago. What's caused this jump?
Well, Jared, despite the dramatic numbers, when we look at them in absolute terms, 1 million new cases in only 16 days, we cannot any longer, in fact, categorize this as a jump because of the way the numbers are growing. Experts point out that this is a highly infectious disease. So, of course, with 1 million cases, reaching 2 million cases would be slower than when it goes from 2 million to 3 million. Another interesting fact about India is that while the country is reporting the highest absolute number of cases on a day-to-day basis, its growth rate has actually significantly slowed down over the last few days. The government is emphasizing this fact, along with the fact that the rise in numbers could be because India is testing more than it was.
You're right. I guess we need to keep a cool head when we do look at these numbers. Let's look at other hard-hit countries like Brazil and the US. India is doing comparatively well, as you say. Its recovery rate is 70%, fatality rate under 2%. What's behind this?
Well, Jared, the government is definitely emphasizing on these numbers when it continues to lift restrictions. And of course, higher testing is also an indicator that the government is emphasizing on. However, when we look at fatality rates, there are some concerns around the accuracy of these numbers. Some experts and critics of the government have pointed out that those suspected deaths, those deaths that are suspected to be of COVID but not confirmed, are not being counted in these numbers. On the other hand, there are also assertions that the numbers in India could in fact be far higher, that the testing testing that is being used, the rapid testing, the antigen testing, is sometimes not as accurate. So perhaps the problem could be far larger than it seems. However, the mortality rate, as you pointed out, continues to remain low, and there are many asymptomatic cases in India as well.
Let's talk about some of the challenges going forward. India's imposed tough restrictions that have really impacted the economy in a negative way. So we have that. We have a growth in infections. What is the Prime Minister doing about this?
Well, Jared, the Prime Minister and the government continues emphasizing that everybody must remain careful and vigilant and take precautions, but we cannot stop life because of the coronavirus. We cannot afford to continue any form of a strict lockdown, which is why currently we are in unlock phase 3. Most of the restrictions that we saw in those 2 months, the hardest lockdown in the world, some would term it as, most of those restrictions have been lifted. However, some states are continuing to impose short restrictions over the weekends, and this has been done in response to the rising numbers.
Good to talk to you, Nimisha Jaiswal in Delhi. Thank you.